Hi there! This is my immediate reaction to House of the Dragon Season 3, Episode 4. Now, I keep these succinct by focusing on the top 7 most notable points about an episode, either good or bad. Though I must say, after the very Team Black-focused Episode 3, that's now balanced out very nicely by a very Team Green-focused Episode 4. To head off everything with the major twist ending right away, point 1 of 7. Helaena is pregnant. We're actually getting Maelor the Missing. That, I don't know if you were living under a rock or something, didn't know all of this, that there was massive behind-the-scenes creative differences between George R.R. Martin and Ryan Condal about including this or not, and last we heard they weren't. And I'm going to leave this short because I'm going to devote a full standalone video to it to give it the attention it deserves. That going into this season, even when we saw images of her apparently in childbirth in the final trailer, no one thought we were really getting this. Even when we got those trailer shots, some questioned if it was even Fiat. I knew it was because the actress had posted it on Instagram, but even then, in my big trailer breakdown, I doubled down on, I was convinced, no, this is a dream sequence. This is something from Harrenhal that Aemon is seeing. I truly did not think we were getting this. So this is a major shakeup and course correction, because I did want them to do this, the book thing, so wow. And there'll be a full video coming for this. Because in terms of an episode breakdown, it really only happened at the very end of this one. Presumably we're going to be talking a lot about it next episode review. Moving along. Point 2 of 7. Real Daeron finally revealed. This is going back to, Season 1 filming reports in 2021 that we wondered if Daeron might actually be in Season 1 or not. And after all these missteps, all these hints, we finally got the search for Daeron is over. Every time there was a teenager in roughly this age range cast for the first 3 seasons, we kept wondering, is this Daeron? No, that's Daeron. No, there's this other theory here. It became a whole thing in the fandom of the many fake Daerons out of universe that we were propping up. And then there was an actual fake Daeron. No, this is the real Daeron, played by Benjamin Evan Ainsworth, who is going to go on to play Link in the live-action Legend of Zelda movie. And I love how they hid him in plain sight at the start of the season, because he was in episode 1 when Ormund is introduced. He's his squire, but they filmed it so that he's always hovering in the background, literally out of camera focus, so he's blurry. That you mentally process that he's there, but it's subconscious, as much as any other squire, you're not really paying attention to them. What would have ruined it is if they had him shooting prominent looks at Ormund. Prominent head-turn close-up reaction when he says Aegon is dead. And you go back and look, he actually does that, but he's blurry, he's out of focus. That would have tipped off even a general audience. And I love how they handled his actual reveal in this episode. Contrast with when they were prominently introducing fake Daeron last episode, this big procession in front of an army being marched out as this high-stakes political prisoner. And here, it's literally John Roxton walks past him to deliver a message to Ormund. And literally just in passing, he goes, "Oh, hey, Daeron." He actually says, oh, hi, my prince. And the camera doesn't immediately cut to a close-up on Daeron. It's just matter-of-fact about all of it. And Claire Kilner directed both this and the fake Daeron episode, the contrast between the reveals of the two of them. As for what little we see of real Daeron's characterization so far, with the actual story after all the reveals and everything, well, I feel he pretty much matches up with the books, with what they described about him in Season 2, that of Alicent's 3 sons, he's the good one, kind and chivalrous, because he didn't grow up in King's Landing. And he's soft-spoken, so he doesn't have that much prominent dialogue. It's mostly him reacting to what Ormund is saying in a war council, but he's soft-spoken, and he's nice to the servants. Like, they made it a point of that when he can tell Ormund is going to fly into a rage because he just got really bad news, he quietly goes over to the servants and says, "Leave, now, get out of here," that he cares about them. And of course, all of this comes to a head in that final scene that's his real introduction to me, where Ormund makes him execute Hugh's brother-in-law. It's a brief 2-line exchange, but it instantly defines so much about him that Daeron protests, "But mercy is a kingly virtue." And Ormund says, "Oh, that's something your father would say." The irony that he's a judicious, diplomatic person, a lot like his father Viserys, even though he barely saw him in person. Point 3 of 7. Aegon and Sunfyre. As I've said, Aegon's invented storyline this season has consistently been a standout. This is a highlight of the season, despite its relatively brief screen time. But the big point of confusion so far has been, is his dragon Sunfyre actually dead? Which would be a change from the book. Now, it doesn't matter that Season 2 characters assume he died. In the book, everyone assumed he died when they thought he's mortally injured, but really he secretly recovered, he healed up over many months, and gradually returned. So we weren't really sure what they were doing with Season 3, even though we knew from leaks, from things they mention in Game of Thrones, no, he has to be alive. Then last episode, though, they said Baela, while she was scouting, the only thing she saw was Sunfyre's corpse. So what was going on? What intrigued me, though, was how they're actually playing this. That I knew that, Sunfyre will return eventually. I had thought he was just hiding in a cave somewhere, healing up, and that he would eventually fly to Aegon like a homing pigeon, like he did in the book. No, what they're doing is actually quite intriguing. This is really interesting. The skill went into this. That we outright see Sunfyre's apparently lifeless corpse, but then have Aegon, of all people, a character who is never really involved with the magical elements of the story, start feeling a strong pull from the Force, a strong pull from the magical bond between dragon and rider, that low-level subconscious psychic bond. And this is a lot more impactful than if, a magical character like Helaena is really doing magic and prophecies and sensing things all the time. It's more impactful that they have Aegon do it, who isn't really someone who believes in any of that. Even Rhaenyra believes in prophecies and stuff. Aegon, of all people, to get this strong magical pull. He played it like that with this weird look on his face, and you can tell he really is alive. That I'm guessing he's in some kind of magical healing coma. Which is more interesting than what I thought they'd do. He was healing up in the woods in a cave somewhere. Moving on, point 4 of 7. Criston Cole going full-on Colonel Kurtz at Harrenhal. Now, I like this Harrenhal scene despite its brevity, that Alice Rivers wasn't in the episode that much, but in the brief scene she was in, she got some really cutting dialogue. And it's all her delivery. I mean, she plays this a lot better than we saw casting sides that weren't really that inspired. She doesn't play it as, I'm this mysterious, seductress person. I love how she plays Alice as deadpan snarky, and really cutting that way of, oh yeah, he left after we heard Rhaenyra captured King's Landing. Oh, what, you didn't know that? That was great, but all in her delivery. But then the big conversation between Criston and Gwaine, which is really an extension on growing on their scene in episode 1, with Gwaine is still trying to hold on to his humanity in this war, but Criston, every man has a breaking point, and he has reached his. Now he's saying in this detached voice, almost calm, how they're outnumbered, so they'll resort to guerrilla warfare, striking by night and leaving atrocity in their wake, and Gwaine's stunned reaction to that. Because horror has a face, and if horror and moral terror are not your friends, then they are enemies to be feared. And actor Fabian Frankel in interviews said he didn't enjoy all the work he had to put into Criston this year. He went full method actor. He shaved his head, gained a lot of weight, started rambling about how his conscience is pure now, and all sorts of stuff. Moving on. Point 5 of 7. I appreciate better late than never that they finally gave an info dump to a general audience that the Hightowers are religious. That what is the background, the hat of the Hightowers, their trait as a faction. And you could say this scene was a bit heavy-handed with Orwell talking to Rhaenyra, but I think it needed to be. That this is for the sake of educating the general audience. That when you have someone, you needed someone in Season 2 to explain to Daemon that, the Blackwoods and Brackens hate each other. That he should know that, but they need to explain it for the sake of the audience. I get that. Sometimes the best way to get the textbook to the student is to whack them over the head with it, otherwise they're just not going to absorb it. For the general audience, you need to do that. So you need a big speech clearly explaining this is what the Hightowers are like. Should have happened in an earlier season, at least we're getting it now. Like, up to this point, even in Season 1, a general audience would understand that the Velaryons, the two big sides of the Targaryen family in the war, the Velaryon Targaryens and the Hightower Targaryens, general audience picked up since Season 1, the Velaryons are sea traders, that they're close allies of the Targaryens, who came from Valyria, but below the Dragon Lords, they command the Targaryen fleets at sea. But they never really properly introduced us to the Hightowers and what they stand for. So we finally get, a lesson here. That quote, "Religion is as central to the Hightowers as dragons are to the Targaryens." You needed to say that to an audience. And explaining, well, the Starry Sept, the headquarters of the Faith, is still in Old Town. They're like the real-life Medicis or Borgias, that they're nobles with strong influence over the papacy. Like every second or third pope is really a Hightower younger brother or cousin or something. And they do have him specify, I like that they specified, well, they don't control the faith, they influence it. So this was a lesson, but it needed to happen. At least finally people know who the Hightowers are. Point 6 of 7. Jeyne Arryn. I have mixed feelings on this, because in the lead up to Season 3, we knew Jeyne would be more prominent this season because her cast ranking went up. In such a way, this only happens when you start sharing scenes with core cast members. I speculated that meant she'd actually go to Rhaenyra in King's Landing, just go on the same ship Torrhen Manderly goes on or something, but instead, it turns out it's Daemon goes to her to get money for the war effort, and arguably this is better because it involves fewer book changes, so fine, okay, he goes to her. The actual scene itself was nice in terms of the dialogue. It's a well-acted scene of Daemon snarking with a woman on equal standing to him, that, no, she is in a rulership position. She rules one of the 7 kingdoms in her own right. She is not impressed with him. She scorns him for his sordid history in the Vale, as we saw from Season 1. And, well, at least you're paying me to go away. Okay. The scene itself was short, but fine. I wish we had more, but it's good to have. It's also nice that they unpacked the eerie throne room out of storage for this, but that ties into what I didn't like about it. The room is empty. And yeah, she dismissed everyone to talk to him in private, but as others have pointed out, the show has never really hinted that Jeyne is a homosexual. That she has this long-term companion, Jess Redfort, that a woman of her age, people go, why isn't she married to a man? Why doesn't she have any children for heirs to continue her line? That they haven't really touched on that, and I don't know if she's even appeared prominently enough that casual viewers would wonder such things. Now, on the one hand, I'm not expecting like a giant full episode subplot with Jeyne and Jess Redfort, but as others have pointed out, it's more baffling at how little effort would have been taken to do it. Like, Westeros.org said, why not just have a extra in a non-speaking role, wearing the Redfort sigil, standing next to her in one scene, and you just imply it or say it in dialogue? It's more weird that they haven't brought... It would take more effort not to bring it up, is the weirdest part. So I don't know what they're doing with that, and Jeyne Arryn is a recurring character well into the next prequel era, so we'll see what they do with that, but the character is underused relative to Amanda Collin as a great actress. But that isn't a complaint as such, just I wanted more of it. Last point is an actual complaint, that this was actually something bad in the episode. Point 7 of 7. The Rhaena and Daemon scene was badly rushed. That there's no way around this, that I was hoping for more, but like I said, I had a checklist of things Season 3 needed to fix going in. Some they did well. They fixed the Velaryons have more to do. Alicent is more antagonistic towards Rhaenyra, again, relatively speaking, that they're fraying. We'll see where that goes. Other things that particularly, again, Corlys was underused in Season 2. He actually got a lot to do this season. I'm fine with that. I've said, accepting as a given that you merged Rhaena with Nettles as the rider of Sheepstealer, prove to me that it was worth it. Okay, you have season 3, here's your shot, show that this was worth it, and they still haven't. Through no fault of the actors, I actually think Phoebe Campbell is a really good actor with what they're doing there, but this is one long scene, and it needed to be multiple scenes across several episodes. This is like a subplot's worth of stuff they condensed into one scene. Consider that Daemon has never had a real back-and-forth dialogue scene with either of his 2 daughters before. He's like passed by Baela in the hallway or something, but never a conversation. And now he's having a full, deep conversation with one of them about, well, you ignored me as the younger child. This is a lot to cram in. This is 3 episodes worth of stuff crammed into one scene. I have to admit that because Matt Smith is a great actor, and Phoebe Campbell's a really good rising actor, the strength of the actors almost manages to make it work. The dialogue is not terrible. It's as much as you could ask for. It's as well as one scene could do within this 3 to 5 minute time frame. It did the best it could, but even ignoring book changes, this is really condensed, and I'll be interested seeing what the reactions of non-book readers are, that this is a lot to happen really suddenly. And on top of that, the biggest thing about Sheepstealer that Nettles ever did is taming him through positive reinforcement, leaving out slaughtered sheep for him to find and gradually standing with him as he's eating to get him used to her presence. And here they mention she did that in dialogue instead of showing it. That she just quickly says, I kept feeding him sheep until he trusted me, and we are one now, and he's part of me now, and just... Maybe I'm judging, maybe there are flashback scenes later in the season. Yeah, it's an excuse we'd give to Benioff and Weiss, but these writers actually do give flashbacks, so I don't know. But how could you leave that off screen? I'm not actively condemning them yet, because again, the actors have consistently said Rhaena's stuff pays off in episode 6. So okay, I'm waiting for episode 6, but I'm gonna say what I said after episode 1. While this isn't like season 5 Dorne bad, not that that's a high bar, and I think it's self-consistent, it's just, this hasn't really justified itself to me yet. And the actors are great, the dialogue is okay, Sheepstealer's design and his personality, that's all great. Just, I want to see the payoff to this. Because I'm still on the fence. This is the thing, the one thing that I'm really criticizing Season 3 for. Everything else I've given them leeway on. And if this is actually going to turn out to be bad, then it's one bad storyline among several. I don't think it would ruin the whole show, but that's why, like last episode I gave a 10 out of 10, specifically for the Rhaena stuff seems very rushed. It's not bad, it's rushed. It's 3 episodes in one scene. I'm giving this like an 8 or 9 out of 10 instead of higher, specifically over that. Everything else was great. So if you want to see more breakdowns like this, I have a lot of backlogged lore videos I'm going to make when my vacation time comes up next week. Please like and subscribe. I have a lot of content coming out.